Hey everyone, it is day 25 of my journey. As always, the t-shirt for today, I actually had laundry come and turn around, so I'm packing my Grundle shirt from Voice Play. Really, just I really like the Grundle videos that Voice Play did. Those are the classical ones. Before I get into today's session, quick notes. One is the reminder that I have a medical procedure coming up this Friday. So if the posting rhythm shifts a little around the weekend, that's why. Nothing major expected, just wanted to mention in advance and keep everyone updated. The other little note that I forgot to put down, I really was able to deliver more information by scripting a couple of days ago, so I'm beginning to expand that, and I feel it makes what I'm trying to convey more understood, less choppy, but it's still as honest as I can make what the day was like. So let's just take day 25. Today's primary session started actually incredibly grounded, and I knew that was going to matter right away because that lower energy approach that I used yesterday, it felt like an experiment yesterday. Now it's beginning to feel like the new normal. And by itself, that's really kind of significant because it means I'm not forcing myself down into a lighter mode. I'm actually beginning to start or arrive there completely naturally. So my takes today, my first one was take 141. I every take is completely numbered. It really functioned today as a true calibration take for the level I'm now at. I could feel from the start that less energy was being used overall, but I could also feel where control still needs refinement. What emerged very clearly was really an important lesson. Um, then there were things that emerged that were a little more comedic. My morning session is Be Prepared. It ends on a sustain into a slide, which I believe is an A2 that then slides down to an A1. The sustain into the slide has to remain one continuous dramatic gesture. It's not a mechanical thing. It sort of is, and it's dramatically important. It has to feel like one uninterrupted intention all the way through. The second I interrupted it with a catch breath in the middle, it just everything broke. The mechanics broke, the performance broke. The line really stopped being a committed thought and became two separate actions. That really kind of felt important to keep that in mind because instead of getting this wonderful I got more of an and that just wasn't gonna fly. When I listened back, what I appreciated was it overall wasn't a bad take. It really was a high level calibration take. It's the kind that shows you exactly where the newer pieces that you're putting into the system now need support, and that's really useful. It it mapped the remaining weak point clearly without losing everything else that I've gained. So instead of it being a two steps forward, one step back, it's more of oh, 1.2 steps forward, 0.2 step back. It's still moving forward, and there's just a little bit. I'm not losing all the rest of it. I am definitely getting the idea that blend and presence stay even when my energy is lower. And that was huge because it meant everything I'm doing isn't tied to the brute force push. They're carrying forward into something more efficient. So obviously, I went to the next take, keeping in mind all the little mistakes I'd made in the calibration take, which I don't correct, I just keep them in mind. And one of the most encouraging things in that second take was how quickly I had just pulled that information from the previous take into my system. Um, just like a few minutes later, my breath management was more balanced. I had reserves. Um, as for the A2 to A1 slide, I completed the sustain, um, held to the A2, landed that A1, and I was locked into that A1. I was actually so locked into that A1, I forgot that the song continued after that point, and I actually stayed on that note through the closing la 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 bit before realizing I needed to rejoin the ending. But that was actually kind of funny because what I was picturing from my own theatrical history is what how that kind of a mistake plays out. And if it had happened live with other singers, the other singers would have absolutely noticed something was not right with that ending. And we probably all would have had a bit of a laugh afterwards. You know, that kind of, that was interesting. What were you doing? But meanwhile, it played in such a way that an audience would never have noticed. They would have probably thought it was part of the performance unless they were like addicted fans who heard the song multiple times. Um, from what I've been going through learning to sing, um, this was a very different kind of mistake than what I've been doing in as much as practice mistakes. A practice mistake, that's the kind of thing. Um, the mistake I had today, it's the kind of thing that happens when you are inside the scene, inside the character, the commitment of that moment. I was just locked in. And if I take the humor of that moment out, had it been written that way, it was great. Everything, breathing wise, tone wise, color wise, just where I wanted it. There were minor issues throughout the entire piece. I'm still continuing to make it better. But the minor issues were actually really, really small besides the larger truth of what was happening. Um, in Be Prepared, I was making theatrical choices. The two big lines in Be Prepared. There's a line, idiots, I'll be the king. And of course, you can't go without, you won't get a sniff without me. Those lines, yeah, you can technically think of them as this is where the grit comes in, this is where the energy goes up. But you know, I've done them so many times at this point that I'm not thinking about the grit anymore. I'm not thinking about the punch. Um, they were being approached like moments in a performance. I hit a level where I wasn't just hearing the other voices, I was in there reacting to the impetus of what was going on. My entire delivery of those lines, and pretty much all of them, were based very deeply on that concept of the first time reaction. And that really felt different from the inside. Um, I want to get back to that. I will explain the overall reaction to the day as a whole in a moment. I just want to quickly go through the afternoon. Today's Boulevard was a secondary session, and it functioned more as just overall calibration than any kind of performance ready or performance close sound. The first one, I was very under energy. The less is more, so I went even less than less, and it was barely audible. The second corrected upward, a little less than less, but also reintroduced some of the older instability patterns that appear when you're throwing the fuel on the fire. So the afternoon became less about capturing a result and more about identifying usable range between extremes. I will save takes so that I can play them and re-examine them. And I use Logic Pro, and the term is bouncing. There was not a bounce-worthy take today. Progress, very meaningful. I learned more about how energy management can change from day to day. And I could also see how yesterday's fatigue lesson subtly influenced today's choices. Not every productive session feels rewarding in the moment, but this one added clarity that can be used immediately going forward. It still give you a little emotional ping. Importantly, even though there was too soft, too loud, the process stayed honest. Nothing was forced into being, and that is pretty much a success. Nothing was really mislabeled as an out-and-out failure. I still put things together pretty much the way I have been putting them together. I just was either underselling the energy or blowing it out the back end. So the work simply continued with a clearer map than it had before the session began. All right, so I said there was a bit of a reaction overall for the day. Really, I just wanted to get through the secondary session. I really want to come back to the morning. See, when I talk about being inside it, when I talk about reacting, I was thinking like an actor reacting honestly in real time, but through music. And that was my plateau today. Somewhere in the middle of that take, I realized I wasn't even thinking about singing anymore. I was performing. I was inhabiting the character, making choices, reacting honestly in the moment, and the craft would take care of the rest. What hit me afterwards was a bit emotional and personal in a way I did not expect. I talked a few episodes ago about feeling like a real singer for the first time, but obviously everybody can sing to some degree or another. Today I felt like a real performer again. And that realization means more to me than isolated notes, breaths, technical details, any of that. Because today wasn't just about improving a song. It wasn't about getting better at singing. I haven't acted seriously in decades. And for the first time in decades, I could feel like I was acting again. I was an actor again. And this was actually about reconnecting with a part of myself that, honestly, I thought had been left behind in an older chapter of my life. in some ways, I don't know what to do with this, because even though this, in a way, was part of the goal of this journey, I don't think I realized what getting to parts of that would be. It's an amazing feeling, but it's also so much more. Okay, so that's what day 25 was. Great 25th anniversary for the journal so far, but things go, and tomorrow is yet another day. And if you're tuning in on a regular basis, I'll be back tomorrow. As always, later.